What's going on, guys? In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the AMA that we had a couple days ago and how it's changed the information that we already know about Mirandus. The AMA started off with a bunch of devs together showing off a gym that McCarthy built, showing the physics inside the game. So if you care about the physics, that's something that you should probably go watch yourself. But as far as the information covered inside the AMA, that's what we're going to get to now. First new piece of information that stuck out to me was that McCarthy said there will pretty much be universal equipment, meaning the same armor pieces should be able to fit all of the races. There won't be a unique piece of armor for each race, though I think that is kind of a cool concept. I think it would be cool if there was maybe some specific dwarven armor that helped them in the mines somehow, or maybe an apron worn by only a proud hearth that would enhance a part of their cooking ability or something. But, I mean, I guess that's what the Voxers are for, so I could see it the other way. Speaking of, McCarthy also mentioned that he hadn't planned on the rarity of a Vox having any effect on the ability the Vox provides. However, he said he would think about that and potentially weight the ability for the Vox that are more rare. Personally, I like the idea of the rarity not being in play in Mirandus, as I don't have a huge budget to really buy a rare Vox, but I could also totally see it from the opposite side. On the same note, the same thing was said about Gala Power. He said he didn't plan on having Gala Power affect the number of NFTs you could use inside the game, but it is something that he will consider and could change in the future. Now, onto arguably the biggest takeaway from the entire AMA. Personally, I think it is Exemplar engraved stats. And these are stats that your Exemplar will keep regardless of who owns the Exemplar. If you trade it, sell it, whatever you want to do. But he talked about doing strength, intelligence, dexterity, vitality, and focus stats for your Exemplar. And he may rebrand those names, but those are the general key concepts for the skills. Then the cool part is he talked about masteries. This is where it gets exciting for me, because he talked about masteries in sword, dagger, axe, staff, bow, crossbow, and hammer weapons, as well as masteries for acid, fire, lightning, and light magic types. And having masteries in those essentially means that you've used that certain type of weapon or magic enough to improve that mastery. And there will be NFT skills or recipes or actions that are gated by having a high enough mastery in that certain subject. So essentially, the more you use that certain type of weapon or magic, the higher your mastery in that class will be and the better at it will be. So I really like this concept of using it for recipes, especially because say there's a certain weapon that is extremely rare and everyone wants it. And people are just missing one certain type of ingredient for the weapon. It would be really, really easy to just use Mtrm to craft that weapon that everyone wants and sell it, keep it, whatever you want to do with it. However, now that there are not only recipes, but mastery gated recipes, that is going to limit the number of that certain type of weapon that everyone really wants inside the game. So that not everyone all of a sudden has a super OP sword. Something else that he mentioned that I really love the idea of is having classes as NFTs. So there will for sure be classes inside the game, and I'm sure that there will be certain classes that you can start off as, like default classes. But he had said if you kill the Lava King, you could potentially get the class Lava Archer. Now that was, again, an example, but that's a really, really cool idea. So if you kill a certain boss, maybe you get a class NFT that only very few people will have that will give you bonuses for fighting specific monsters or using specific abilities. The next topic that was covered was kind of monster camping, and will that be a thing, and how are they going to prevent that? McCarthy said that monsters will have a high wandering radius, meaning just because they're supposed to be in this specific location doesn't mean they're going to be. They're going to be walking around doing something a monster would do, terrorizing a village, I don't know. And it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if a monster spawned right next to a player, so they want to keep the respawn location somewhat random, and also preventable if a player is nearby. Speaking of monsters, another really cool thing that McCarthy seemed really passionate about was pack mentality, meaning if you stumble across a pack of goblins, he wants them to act like a pack of goblins would act in real life. They're not just going to attack you all of a sudden. They'll kind of stand there taken aback, look at each other for a second, maybe say some words to each other, and then attack. You know, they're going to act fairly intelligently. Gala's even brought on some linguists to make languages for these creatures. How sweet is that? So you're going to be able to learn like goblin or something crazy. And these goblins and any other kind of monster will be able to kill your horses. So horses can die. Horses will be safe at hitching posts and stables, but horses will be able to be killed. Speaking of horses, he talked about the idea of having saddlebags and adding extra storage onto horses, which I think is such a good idea. He did talk about the possibility of a horse dying with your saddlebag and all your NFTs inside the saddlebag, and he said he's not 100% sure how that's going to work, but I'm assuming that you'll be able to just run to the spot where your horse died and pick up those NFTs, maybe within a certain time limit. Now on to the question on everyone's mind. Mtm, will it be burned? And the answer is no, it will not. Mtm will be recycled, however. So as we spend Mtm, maybe to upgrade or to cast spells or to do anything inside the game, that Mtm will then be recycled back into the environment. And anytime you kill something inside of Mirandus, it will drop Mtm. Or like I mentioned in the last video, you could stumble upon a chest with thousands of dollars worth of Mtm in it. So this Mtm is constantly going to be going in and out of the environment to help circulate the economy. A question that I was super interested in was the experience sharing and the loot drops. So I have written down, it says an idea of creatures having a loot table. Everyone involved gets to tap the monster and get a roll at the loot table. Depending on the monster though, there could be a first come, first served basis on the table. Maybe an ancient rarity monster only gets 10 loot table taps as opposed to an unlimited number of loot table taps, which will make it really interesting when you get these high valued bosses killed. How are people going to share the loot if there's only 10 people that can tap the loot table? Will it be people with the most damage? Well then what about healers? How are they going to do that? McCarthy said he's not 100% sure how it's going to happen, but that would really suck if it's a first come first served basis. That would be the halfling sitting in the corner, just run up and steal it and then tick everyone off. But this will definitely cause some controversy and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Another question that people ask all the time is finally just confirmed. You will not be able to drive boats or control boats. There will be some canoes that are more like mounts rather than actual big boats that will be controllable in the water, but for the most part, boats will not be controllable. On that, someone asked, how are they going to find new land that, like a secret island? And McCarthy said it would be cool to have NFT maps that are hidden maybe at the end of a dungeon or by doing a secret mission or a secret quest or something like that. I think that that's a really cool idea because maybe only 5 people or maybe only you're the person that knows about that secret island and you're the one that gets to tell whoever you want or not tell anybody and get all the resources for yourself. McCarthy also talked about the idea of having an NPC in your shop for you while you're away that's maybe controllable via your mobile device. I think that's a really good idea because you'll be able to change your shop prices through that or maybe change the display around a little bit without actually you being beside your PC. I think that would be super beneficial and players would like to have somebody maybe to look at when they walk into the store rather than no one being behind the counter. And the last question that I thought was somewhat interesting and worth covering is VR in Mirandus. Is it still a thing? Is it still in the works? What's going on here? And McCarthy said that that's still very far in the future. Like Mirandus is still very far out. So he said that there's a possibility of maybe a VR tavern that you could go into and hang out with some friends. But as far as Mirandus fully VR, that's very far in the future. So don't count on it anytime soon. And that pretty well covers all the content in the AMA. I hope I did a decent job of summarizing everything and maybe providing an insight that even if you did listen, that you hadn't thought of. So I appreciate you guys watching so far. If you've made it this far, I would really appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe if you're not subscribed. It would really help to boost the channel. This is only my second video. And again, I appreciate you guys a ton and I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace, y'all.